Hello, team. It's time for the Daily Detangler. All right, walking the line. What do I mean by walking the line? And what am I responding to? And this is a special edition of the Daily Detangler, and I'm responding to a couple of videos that Catalyst sent from a client call and a client engagement that we had. I spent a couple of minutes listening to those. They're a whopping 3 minutes long total. And I said, oh, gee whiz, 3 minutes, that's not that big of a deal. And let me listen to those. And I listened to them a couple times. And then I actually, I had them transcribed because I have that technology. I can do that really fast. And I listened to it and I actually read it again. And I'm going to share what I see there. And what I am processing, and then kind of a way to maybe use the tangles to try to extract out what's going on. So what is this balancing act that I'm seeing in the videos from our client? What kind of pressure do we create, and how does it show up in her language? And then what are some ways to maybe relieve the pressure that we're creating in how we're driving change? And this is what it feels like when I read her words and I listen to what she's talking about. Like, this picture pops into my mind that here's somebody in her business suit, and she's balancing. She's balancing this need to know with this need to understand, with this understanding that we have to be creative and we have to figure things out. And I'm, she's in her business suit, and I can relate to this because when I was in my business suit, I wanted to make sure I came across like I know everything, and I didn't want people to see me balancing and looking stupid trying to balance. And I wanted to give people definitive answers, and I felt this pressure to give an answer instead of just engaging in the act of balancing. And because I'm in my business suit, I didn't want people to see me working and sweating at maybe being anxious or figuring things out. And it's a constant wobble. And in business, that's not normal. That's not, rewarded. And, because of this feeling, how do you lead? How do you lead in that and take action and, figure out what the answer is? And this feeling of wanting to do that so bad, at the same time knowing that the answer is just beyond the reach. And this is the feeling I get when I look at what Cindy is saying and kind of process what she's saying. I'm looking here at her words, and if I just look at these, she's saying it's chaos and organized chaos, and it's incredibly complex, that what our product is, and it's really hard for us. And she's like, oh my gosh, look at all the things that we have to figure out, and how are we going to get this from 8 to 3, and it's uncomfortable, and we're out of sorts, and we have a lot of instructions and a lot of information. It makes us uncomfortable, and we're chaotic, right? So in this view, it feels like fast and quick and change and unsettled and unbalanced, right? And at the same time, there's a couple of nuggets, like, she knew that what she was being asked to do is something simplified, and that's amazing. And at the same time, the simple and having something incredibly solid is also amazing. So it's just like, it's amazing on one hand and oh my God on the other, right? Balancing act. That was in one of her videos. And then the second video, same type of language, right? And it's incredibly hard. I don't like it. I'm not a big gray person. I can't. I don't know. I push back. I'm having trouble. People need hard examples. Our whole organization is like that. We want to see. We tried to get there. It's really hard for us. We don't know what it's going to look like. I can't tell them. I can't articulate it well. We don't know what it's going to be. I'm a train wreck the entire time. I'm not very good at trusting the processes. I need to see that infinite end piece, that finite end piece. I still like to see something tangible, and that's hard for me. And it just feels this weight, right? Like this anxiety and this like, and at the same time, it's like other end, the spectrum. This is amazing. There's this communication gap. It's something very that we're moving from functional to sell at an executive level. It's about growth. It's about our strategy. And even if it's not, even if it's what it's going to be is for my experience or my company or our organization, it's going to help us. And so there's again this balancing act, this teeter totter of all this red, and then oh, there's this glint of hope of green, right? And it's just like, is this good? Is this bad? What she's talking about? Is there confidence in what she's saying? Is this a good thing? Is it innovate? Like what is going on? And even though she's smiling at the camera the whole time and she's, sitting there and she's sharing her thoughts, it's like, do you leave there listening to that? Do you feel like she's confident or that this is even a good thing? It's like hard to understand, and it's like conflicted, right? This teeter-totter image, this business suit person walking the line. So, what is happening there? Well, in my past, I felt this too, and it's like I know what I need to be doing, but I don't know how to do it. And I know I should take action, but what action should I take? And I know that I don't respond well to pressure, but at the same time, I have to feel the pressure. It's like paradox after, yin and yang, and start and stop, and think big, think small. All of these like triangulations are happening. And, if I plot that out and I think about myself and my journey of like putting pressure on myself at the same time trying to take action, things can go well. And then they also can go incredibly bad. Like if I put too much pressure on and I internalize that, I can just blow up and it's not good. So like what happens when I'm walking the line, and does that happen with our clients? And maybe there's a way to help them stay in the sweet spot. Where is that sweet spot? Um, and how do we help people get into that sweet spot? And it's this teeter totter, this balancing act, right? Because if we have zero pressure and don't expect action, people are going to be in their comfort zone. And in their comfort zone, they're going to say, I got this. I don't need to change, because they don't feel the pressure and they don't feel like they need to act. And then on the other end, if there's way too much pressure and an inability to act and I can't act, I'm going to blow up. I'm going to just show a bunch of anxiety. I might even panic. I might like, just shut down and lash out and get tired and frustrated and throw my hands in the air. And that's not good. And either of these areas, the comfort zone and the anxiety zone, are like, we can't really work with that because we're expecting people to change. And that's this balancing act. Like if we shows them things that reinforce their comfort zone, they don't get on the balancing act and the teeter totter. If we blow them out of the water and give them too much anxiety, they can blow the thing up because they're going to push everybody off the teeter totter. So how do we get on this balancing teeter totter and help people get into this growth zone and stretch and realize that stretching is okay, that stretching is required, and stretching is where growth comes from, and stretching is how you not only grow yourself but can grow your company, and this is where all the goodness happens. But in that stretching, you might say, I don't get it. So it's like, is it okay to not get it? Like with the Cindy thing, it's like, did she feel like it was okay not to know those things, or was she anxious about it? And like, how do we help people feel like not understanding it is okay? And then from a like technique perspective, for myself, it's like, how do I learn how to relieve pressure on myself? I'm building up so much pressure. It's even happening right now. That's why I was wanting to kind of go through to the Tangler today, because my pressure is building up because I want to do things and I want to monetize things and all this other stuff. I have this higher pressure anxiety, but how do I relieve that pressure on myself? What can I do to get back into the stretch and growth zone? And then how do I not get complacent, on the other hand? And sometimes I need to add that pressure to myself. So it's like this pressure addition to move forward into the stretching and the growing, and then this pressure relief that I have to figure out so I don't blow up. And how do I stay in that zone? What is that zone of the I don't get it? And it's these things of like, we have to learn by doing, we have to try to figure it out, we have to observe, we have to take action, we have to, there's these things in the growth zone that make it normal to be in the growth zone. So what is that, and how do I stay there? And this is important because in a collective environment, if I'm anxious in my anxious zone and somebody else is in their comfort zone, this is person number 2 all the way in their comfort zone, and then person number 3 is in their anxiety zone, and person number 4 is in their comfort zone, and then here's person number 5 and they're in the growth zone. Look at all these variables that happen, and it's like there's 2 people panicking and 2 people, this is I'm comfortable, I don't need any pressure, and let's not add any pressure to them because we need, they're not gonna help get us to the growth zone, so let's just remove them and not have them on the team. So we've got 2 people panicking, we got 2 people off the team, we got this person in the middle trying to do it all by themselves, right? Like, that's not, so what is that? Or how do we get to some sort of tipping point where people get into the stretch and growth zone and want to be there? What would it look like to opt into that? And yes, there's the top 20% that want to do that, and the top 20% want to be in there, but they get all these inputs from everybody else around them that perhaps tells them that that's not a good thing, or they have to choose to ignore them, or at some point they're going to have to enroll those folks. And how do they add some sort of pressure? So there's this idea of relieving pressure, and here's a pressure release valve. This is from air tank and fluid, water, a water valve. And you can adjust the pressure at the top, and then if the pressure blows, it blows out the side, so the container doesn't blow up. So I like that feeling. And it's like, what are some ways to acknowledge the pressure, right? And so I've told myself these things like, Brian, it's going to be okay. Calm down, or I'm not alone. There's other people that have gone through this. Let me talk to them, or let me reach out to them and just realize that I'm not alone. I have to tell myself I'm making progress. I have to tell myself that I'm figuring it out. And it might not be on my timeline, but I am making progress, and I am figuring it out, and I am going to be okay, and I am not alone. And other people are going to help me see it if I just stay engaged and trust the process. And, can I just kind of settle and rest into that? So how would I help Cindy do that? How would I help tell Cindy it's going to be okay, and tell Cindy that she's not alone, and she's making a lot of progress, and she's figuring things out, and that we're helping her see what would I build? What would I share? If she was going to share Tangle, like she needs more information, or she needs more time, or she feels like she's doesn't have what she needs and she's not going to be right, or she's in this space of frustration or anxiety. How do I relieve the pressure with her, right? What kind of tools or approaches would I take to help her get into the growth zone? And then the other piece of this is, what kind of ways do we create pressure? And it's like we create pressure just by showing up, like just by the nature of what we do. To me, it's new language, it's new visuals, it's new concepts, it's new different. We're on this different path. We use go to customer language. Pretty much everything we show is different. It makes perfect sense, but like it's so like we're not. People just are not used to thinking that way. But then they step back and they go, "Oh my gosh, that's simple. Sales conversations. We should focus on that. Why didn't I think about that before?" Pressure. And so, if you're in your comfort zone and you're presented with our stuff, how do you get into the growth zone? And a lot of our assets and our content and our the way we engage invites people into that growth zone in the middle. But how do we help them not tip into the anxiety zone? What would that look like? It's the C slides. It's the coaching that Catalyst does. It's the more PowerPoints and C slides to help make it more real. And realizing that at some point, people need to regulate. They need to regulate between this. We're in the comfort zone and we're in the anxiety zone. And a lot of our top performers that Catalyst works with, they thrive in that growth zone. But at some point, it kicks into anxiety. And the anxiety zone is, what is that? It's not their anxiety, it's the anxiety of everybody else around them. So how do they help manage everybody else's anxiety into that zone? So that's kind of what I was thinking for today's daily detangler is, what are the ways in which to identify tangles, and then what are the ways in which we add pressure or relieve pressure to keep people in that sweet spot of growth, because growth is a stretch and growth makes people feel uncomfortable. The nature of what we do is uncomfortable. So like, how do I share what I've learned about being uncomfortable? How do I share what I've see slides and other things that help make being uncomfortable the new normal? How do I help provide content and tools and see slides that make being uncomfortable normal, and inviting people into the techniques and approaches and principles and expectations